I want to welcome all people and thank you, Dr. Francisco Najar, that is taking his time now for sharing with us about lamb slaughtering. We are starting our second season of the Small Ruminants webinars here at Lincoln University. I am Homero Salinas, state specialist, and we are going to welcome now to Dr. Najar. You want to present by yourself and start your talk, please, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for the invitation. When Dr. Salinas reached out to me, and I'm pretty easygoing, pretty easy to reach. Really, I'm very happy to be interacting and to having this conversation with processors in the state of Missouri. I know maybe there are some folks out of the state as well. So a little bit about myself. I will just briefly mention this. So it's kind of, I think it's great just so you guys get to know me a little bit more before I start the conversation. So I graduated. I'm originally from Mexico. You can tell by my accent. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. Did my bachelor's there 4 years in science, and then I got the opportunity to study abroad in Ireland for 1 year. So I did 4 years in Mexico, 1 year in Ireland. Came back, worked for a retail store on the QA. It's called HEB. Then I just really decided that it was more out there for me. I really wanted to get to know more about the science, meat science, and then one of the greatest universities that are in the States, Kansas State University, one of the top programs for meat science. I came to Kansas in 2016 for my master's, graduated in 2017, and I really like the Midwest. I think people are very friendly, and I really like a lot of teaching and just interacting with undergraduates, and decided to stay on for my Ph.D. and graduated recently this May. And the last couple of years, I got to as a co-instructor for the animal processing class, where we typically teach undergraduates in class from 14 to 16 students every semester to do everything from slaughter, fabrication, and then a little bit of cutting in yields and cutting tests at the end of the course. So we do beef, pork, and lamb. Primarily, we do also goat, and I think it's how I got exposed to the meat industry and how to be exposed to interacting with small meat processors. And I'm currently working with ULTRASOURCE, that it's based out of Kansas City, Missouri. Maybe some of you guys have heard of this company. We've been here for almost 140 years. We sell equipment. We fabricate vacuum chambers. Used to be Koch. Now the name is ULTRASOURCE, the company, and we help very much so small and mid-sized processors across the states and also internationally. And a little bit about to start this conversation. I started a meat science podcast, and I'm sure Amy afterwards may just give you more information about that. But it's basically to help the small and mid-sized meat processors in all things meat processing. We talk about animal welfare, we talk about food safety, packaging, and it's mostly for beef, pork, and I mean you can talk that it's also, if you're a lamb processor, can also, a lot of the things that we talk about you can relate to that. So and then this June I joined ULTRASOURCE, and we still help meat processors, and we hold some meat science courses, meat processing courses, where every 2 months we have from 14 to 16 small processors that want to learn more about meat processing or want to be updated. One of the new processes out there, new ingredients, and I think that's one of the things that we're very proud of. In our team, we have 5 meat scientists that we help small processors in all things equipment and everything they may need for that, from the kill floor and processing standpoint. And so I think that is it where I am at right now. And let's talk a little bit about land harvest. Again, this is kind of different because I used to just teach it like everyone else, like in front of students. But here's so this is the class that I used to teach at K-State. We talk about lamb slaughter. We're going to focus a lot on the slaughter side of things, that why we do this, whether we follow this methodology to do that. And I'm sure if Dr. Salinas may allude to, maybe some of the guys that are joining may have do like a custom plan, or maybe wanting to just learn about the slaughter. I'm not sure if maybe you, Dr. Salinas can tell us about the audience. Do you know, like?
Hi, Dr. Najar. There is somebody has asked specifically in the chat about a mobile unit, like a converted container or a trailer for slaughtering. So you may try to speak to that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in that, there's actually we had a back last year, we had a very good topic with you know, COVID hit last year, and we had that supply problem for meat products, fresh meat, and a lot of small guys wanting to just, I mean, got cattle. Let's try to find some other options out there to process and slaughter the cattle. So mobile slaughterhouses, they're right now very popular. They've been popular, but more in the Australia, New Zealand area before, but now it's becoming more popular. So as like here, we do not provide the mobile slaughter. We're looking into that option, but definitely it's one of in the case that you guys may be out there in the farm, and you want to be able to process and just do like a custom slaughter out there. And I think we had a conversation with the meat scientist Derek Schroeder, which actually works for me, trying to talk about mobile slaughter. And I can, at the end, I can talk more about that and what are some of the challenges of mobile slaughter and what are some of the opportunities. So typically at K-State we have a USDA inspected facility. It's federal inspected by we have an inspector on site that will inspect all the animals to make sure that they're healthy and they can be slaughtered. And I mean, just looking at the four Ds: down, disabled, dead, trying to make the animals healthy. They can walk on their own to the chute box when we can stun them. And I guess it really depends on what you're trying to do. I would say that if you're doing it on your own on the farm, typically you won't have anyone there to inspect that, because it's going to be for consumption only, for the farmer or the family consumption. So you don't have to have a inspection. So you may also have the state inspected facility by the state of Missouri. Will send some inspectors, state inspectors, to inspect the process as well. But in our case, at K-State, we're federal inspected, so we have a USDA inspector that makes sure that all our processes are in place, and we do all that humanely. So I said is the animal inspection, but typically we start around 6 a.m. So by 5, the inspector will come in, inspect the livestock, see any anomalies on the health. And this is the chute, the restrainer that we have for small ruminants. So we do lamb and goat, and also we use it for pigs. So this is a process where we take the weight of the animal, and then we send him through the chute box. stun it. Typically, we use a captive bull for that. It's mainly widely used for small ruminants. So here's one of the challenges that I typically found, and mainly because we try a lot with students, and most of them our objective is to teach him how to do the slaughter and all that stuff. So typically we'll do the stunning. Typically one of my mentors and he helped me a lot to understand more of this. John Wolf is the meat lab manager. He will do the stunning, the actual stunning of the animal, but we'll have undergraduates do the shackling and make sure, since it's a captive bull, you may see some kicking of the animal, but you want to make sure that someone is ready to do the bleeding exsanguination. This kind of graphic, and I'm not sure if this is going to be published on YouTube somewhere, but I mean, we have some pictures that are pretty graphic. So after we do the exsanguination, we typically start removing the head between the atlas joint and the axis joint, similar to what we're going to do with other species. Something to talk about here that in our facility we don't keep the blood or the head of the animal for any consumption. We due to the scrapies and those type of diseases, we don't keep the head or the blood. We just dispose of them. Sometimes in beef, we tend to keep the. I mean, we'll talk here a little bit about age, but we can keep the in our facility, if we wanted to, we can keep the blood and the head. We don't do it because it's a lot more job to do that when you're small, typically. And that's one of the challenges that I found when it comes to all those things that inedibles, that to dispose of them, sometimes it's been difficult to find the correct company to come and collect those byproducts. To me, this is one of it doesn't seem like it, but it's one of the most challenging parts for this process with this lagging. Typically, now we like to have them sheared like the day before or a couple of days before. So this process of lagging, it's cleaner. And this is one of those things, like you want to try to keep the hair off of the carcasses as much as possible. And this is not easy to do, especially when you don't have a lot of experience and trying to teach undergraduates to do that. But it's doable. But you want to make sure that on a federal inspected facility, we want to make sure that, and we'll talk about here in a minute about what are some of the interventions that we use to make sure that there's no hair, no manure, no ingesta on the carcass. So this is one of the most challenging part, to keep the knife clean all the time, keep your knife and hand clean all the time to do all the lagging and just avoid contamination. So after we did the lagging, now we will proceed.
If I might, I'm sorry, excuse me, for just a second, if we might back up just a second, there's been somebody ask about harvesting without stunning, like to cater to the ethnic market. Do you have equipment that would allow for that process? Can you speak to harvesting in a religious manner?
Good question. Good questions. Yeah, we actually, and this is, I can refer to you, to Dr. We had it on the podcast. He's from Cornell University. I forgot what his last name is, but I think this is a good. I mean, we're not going to focus in on that at all, but for some processes, and this we talk about religious slaughter, but I guess for a federal inspected facility, we typically when we use the inspected facility, we want to have a stunning in place for that. And maybe this can be another opportunity with Dr. Salinas to come back and talk about more like an ethnicity type of slaughter. But I think we can focus at least on this, and maybe I can at the end I can answer those questions about how to. What are some of the resources out there to know more
Okay.
about this?
How about we leave it at, if somebody has questions specifically about ethnic slaughter, religious practices without using stunning, those kinds of things, can they email you directly?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and then your email address
Sure.
will be provided at the end of this
At the end.
PowerPoint.
Right.
And
yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that'll be better because I can go. We can spend a couple hours more, even more.
yeah, it would change the direction of this. So
Yes.
if you have those kinds of ethnic questions or catering to a religious market, please go ahead and feel free to email Dr. Najar specifically those questions. And also I have linked the Meats Pad podcast in the comments section. So if you want to go through and search, there are, there's a ridiculous amount of podcasts. There's like 60 episodes or something. I'm sure there's something in there for everybody, but there is an episode that might answer these questions. So with that, let's go ahead and move on. If you guys have more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat.
Yeah. Dr. Ragenstein, I forgot his name. Dr. Ragenstein is a very good friend. Yes, it's actually he does some teaches some courses, K-State also online. But yeah, I'll visit more about that here in a minute. So after we do the legging, and this is more like hands-on, right? We typically teach the undergraduate how to do that, opening the midline, because we're gonna start to do the fisting. And it's a very, I would say, hands-on approach, fisting. We do that because a lot of the times, I mean, we don't have the equipment to take the hide off using a dehair or something. We typically do it by hand. A lot of our carcasses will be used for the meat judging team to practice on. So we do all that by hand. I know it can be sometimes time consuming to do all that, but I'm sure if you guys are doing it on your farm, you may relate to this and you know what I'm talking about when you do the fisting. That's basically the process to remove the hide of the carcass. And again, we have to be very clean. We have to and it's a very common sense and a common thing. You see, this is Mr. John Wolf. You have his left hand holding the hide and his right hand is with his thumb going all the way down to separate the hide from the carcass. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to, if you're touching the hide with your left hand, just keep it that way and don't go back to and touch the carcass with that. So I think this is where all this cleaning practices, sanitizing your hands, knife and everything, it's one of the things like it's very important because at the end of the day, it's less contamination and ultimately that's going to impact your quality, shelf life, etc. So this is doing the fisting almost with the fourth quarter. And then when we get to the front leg, we'll start removing the hide of that. We'll do it on the opposite way. We'll take the knife and go all the way down towards the sternum of the animal, and we'll remove it. This is one of the important things, and I guess one of the big things about lamb slaughter is the abrasion removal, and that's going to be an indicator. We'll talk here in a minute about that, about the age. It's an indicator of the age of the lamb. It's going to be a lamb less than a year, 14 months, or a mutton after a year, 14 months or older. Bunging, so just removing the anus of the animal we typically do this before we do the evisceration process. Just we'll take a knife and the hook, remove the, just release that bung, put it on the back and tie it off. So, and we shove it in again, and we'll just be ready to continue with the penis removal. Here, so before the evisceration, we need to split the breast of all the sternum of the animal using a handsaw. We'll do that, and then and this is, I mean, it looks pretty easy, but I guess you just, the more you do it, the better you get at it in terms of using the hands-on approach, like typically what we do. And it takes, just to give you like a little bit of an example, typically we do from 6 to 8 lamb on a just a kill day for with a class, with a slaughter class that I used to teach, and that will take us maybe, yeah, all morning. We'll be done by 2. But it really, because we teach the students, like we put them into groups. It's like, you guys gonna work on this, and we teach them how to do it. Obviously, it's gonna take more time. There will be some challenges as far as, oh, you did this wrong, and you cut this wrong, but that's okay, because that's the learning opportunity for them to know how to do it, because most of them will go back to the farm and do it with their family. So it's is a good opportunity to get to know everything, the theory, but also the hands-on. So we open the abdominal cavity, take the all the viscera out. We remove the membrane, the diaphragm from the carcass, the pluck removal, the heart, trachea, and the lung. We'll take that off, pull it out. And then typically that really depends on the process you're doing. You can do the leg transfer depending how you're doing your legging on the first step. Weigh the carcasses down, and so this is just to have some control over the shrink that we may see, depending on how long are you storing those carcasses for. Typically, in an industry, we will not store them for more than 1 day. There are certain small and mid-sized processors that I've seen. Maybe they store it for a week, a couple of weeks. And actually, you guys process pork. One of the projects that I did for my master's thesis was, how long can we store pork carcasses without compromising the quality, the microbial quality of the carcasses? We went up to 3 weeks, but this is more on pork, but just to get to know, just get acquainted with what that is. Washing carcasses, what we did, we still do. We use a hot water intervention, and at least typically at least 160 or higher, but we'll do like 185, 180 degrees Fahrenheit to just spray the carcasses down with that. And that would that's our intervention that we conduct at the end of the slaughter, prior to putting it on the hot box. And then we'll this is more for the, as I said, for the aging. We'll expose the break joint, either a break joint or a spool joint. This is a break joint. You see a little bit of the cartilage in there. That's an indication of the animal. The animals. And now this is a figure that I wanted to put together, and just to show you when I talk about maturity in lamb. So here on the left side, we see the break joint. We see that cartilage that you can pop that up, and that's just an indication of a lamb carcass. On the other hand, we have a spool joint that just tells us, or is an indication that the animal can be considered a mutton, and it's an older animal, and that just helps us to just give us an indication of the age or the maturity of the carcass. Then we'll do the inspection stamp, where the USDA inspector will come and stamp it as a USDA inspected facility, carcass chill, and that is it. That is I mean, it just looks pretty easy, pretty quick, but in reality, it takes time. It takes time to practice. So with that, I'm open to questions or anything you guys may need.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Najar. Are there any other questions? Now's the time to drop them in the chat.
Dr. Najar, what about small facilities like for a farm? Do you have like equipment for individual farm or for a small cooperative, several small farmers?
You mean by providing equipment to process?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So say something. So we help, and maybe some of you have heard that the government, the USDA provided some grants for smaller processors to just increase the capacity of slaughter, or even putting more USDA inspected facilities. I'm not 100% sure that that's also including for lamb and goats. I mean, I know that we mostly do beef and pork, and I know they were giving some funding for that last year. But as far as a co-op that I'm not aware of myself, of anyone out here in Missouri, and that could be like a question that we can put together, like a little proposal to see how many head of lamb you guys are trying to process, and we could come up with a project for that for sure.
I don't have any more questions in the chat, but it sounds like if you guys out there listening are interested in putting together a cooperative or sharing equipment with your neighbor or finding an inspected facility so that you might have slaughter product that you can sell, it sounds like Dr. Najar is your man. So go ahead and send him those questions, or you can always send those questions to me. At this time, we're waiting on, oh wait, we do have a question. What is needed as far as the state of Missouri for slaughter to sell to local businesses? Do you know?
Was that again? I didn't catch the question.
If in the state of Missouri, for I guess a producer to slaughter animals to sell to local businesses, I'm assuming like white tablecloth restaurants or farmers market, maybe, what sort of, I'm assuming equipment, inspections, licensing, what's needed to do that?
Yeah, but you can send me a quick email, but for, like as a rule of thumb, I always think generally there may be some exceptions, but if you're state inspected, you can only commercialize that meat within the state that you're at. There's certain exceptions out there that maybe we can go, and it's a certain other paperwork that needs to be done if you're trying to be state inspected and shipped across the state or to other states.
But if you're a producer in the state of Missouri, you just need to make sure that your animal is slaughtered in a state inspected facility for you to sell it. Okay.
Right, and you will be able to sell it in the state of Missouri.
How do you locate state inspected processors? Is there an association that maintains a list? Do you contact the Missouri Department of Agriculture? Like, how do you find a state inspected facility?
I think there is I'm more aware of the Kansas Meat Processor Association, but I think if you go to the Missouri Meat Processor Association, I'm sure I have it somewhere, and again, I can provide that to you, but that should be available to you. as far
Okay.
as how many plants, how many state inspected facilities are, if they have the grant for lamb or for poultry or for beef or pork. So that really, it's also depending on what type of processing facility you have. So
Okay, well, and I know that the Missouri Department of Agriculture maintains a state inspection service because two of our alumni, one is actually a supervisor in the program, and then one is actually, she's an inspector that goes around, and I think she's mostly in the central region, and they maintain records. And so I would encourage you, if you are in the state of Missouri, to explore possibilities with state licensed processing facilities through the Animal Health Division at the Missouri Department of Agriculture. Dr. Baughman has linked a list of the official plants that are under inspection. And again, that list comes from the Animal Health Division. So go ahead and you can check out in the chat box right now. There's that list of state inspected facilities.
perfect. Yeah, and again, let us know. I think my email, I put it here. If you have any information or anything you need from kill floor or processing standpoint, or even just questions about co-ops or something that could be explored, just let us know. We're happy to help. And again, we publish bi-weekly the meat science, meat processing podcast. And yeah, so we'll get to come back sometime and talk about maybe religious or ethnic slaughter. I'm sure I have one of the faculties at K-State, Dr. Michael Chow. I know he's done some ethnic short courses when it comes to goat, and that really comes down to the market. So what's your market? Sometimes I've seen, and we've done some hide on, or I just with processing goats with a hide. It's a different process, but definitely I will, if there's some more questions about that, I can come back and maybe have Dr. Chow talk about what he's done and some of his research on goat processing.
Okay, I think that would be interesting. I think we do have probably some people that are in our listening audience that would like some ethnic or religious, because I know they raise animals to try to hit those markets. So that might be a way to add some value. So without any more questions in the chat, Dr. Najar, I'd like to really thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. His contact information is on screen. So if you would like to ask him questions directly, go ahead and send him an email, or you can always reach out to me. Again, my name is Amy Bax, and I'm here in the extension program at Lincoln University. Dr. Salinas, do you have anything else to share?
Well, just thank you, Dr. Najar, for your time, and we are to be looking for another time probably to do a slaughtering here face to face, probably by next year, and probably you may come here and show us how to do it. For sure, there will be people, stakeholders, very enthusiastic about to come.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Najar. Thanks, everybody.